Welcome to another episode of your Technologically Inept Foods teacher. Mrs. Strada is here. She is actually the famed one, and she's going to be teaching us today about spring rolls. In fact, it was her idea to do spring rolls with you guys. Right, Manny? Isn't that kind of her? To put in all that work and everything and cut all these ingredients and prepare this for us. Mrs. Strada is the best. She has literally been sweating to try to provide us with such a good learning experience. So, for a spring roll, usually it's ground pork in a spring roll, but for the purposes of a foods class, I like to use beef because more people can eat beef, and because there are people who don't eat pork, don't eat beef. But you can use your ground meat of choice, or you could even use a vegetarian supplement called ground round if you're a vegetarian, and make it vegetarian if you wish. There's a ton of things you can do, or you could just saute a bunch of vegetables and put them inside. I've done a spring roll called crispy mashed potatoes, and I've made my favorite mashed potato, put the mashed potato inside the spring rolls and fried them and then dipped them like a mashed potato dipping stick before. So you could do a lot of cool stuff with the spring roll wrapper. So essentially a spring roll wrapper is a really, really thin pastry. It's like a really, really thin dough. They're not expensive. I think a whole package of these at Superstore cost me $1. What, honey?
No.
All right. So today I'm teaching Foods 20, but honestly, a spring roll can be done by anyone. Sometimes the wrappers, they stick to each other. It's a really, really thin pastry, you can see. All right, so that's a single wrapper. You can get them in a bigger size, a smaller size. A smaller size than this would be a wonton wrapper, used for wonton soup, making wontons. You can also get them in a circular shape for making pot stickers, or dumplings. All right, so basically what we're going to first do is, this is Mrs. Strada's take on spring rolls, and you can do spring rolls in a lot of ways. You can incorporate different vegetables, etc., and so forth. But Mrs. Strada, she recommends that you have chopped onions, celery, and carrots, and actually minced. She wants them minced. Now minced is super, super fine. So when we're cutting, we have our knife. We should never have a pointing finger on the tip of the knife like this, because you don't have control over the blade. You should always have this finger on this side, your thumb on this side, and this is a control blade of a knife, okay? You're controlling the blade. Now first we're gonna julienne our piece of celery. Julienne is in sticks. And then from here, we're gonna touch our thumb to our pointer finger and slice down. Tiny. Okay, nice and tiny. Remember, a spring roll is an appetizer type of a dish, or if you're having like a football party, right? So we want about this size. So if you can see, very small. I would call this a mince, or just slightly larger than a mince, but very, very small. A small dice. And we only have celery, I think it's celery, onion, and garlic. Now on your plates, you're gonna have a chunk of onion, a chunk of celery, a chunk of carrot. So just remember with carrot, because it's a round vegetable, when you cut a carrot, so I have a carrot, because it's a round vegetable, I cut it in half. I like to put the back of my blade into my carrot first, palm up, and then press down, so that if the carrot rolls and the knife rolls, that my fingers are up. But if you have your hand and your fingers over a knife like this, and it rolls like this, you can cut your fingers. Pardon? Oh, hey, Mr. Ennis, I'm shooting a YouTube video here. It's unlisted. Mr. Ennis is here, one of our principals. And then, so basically we cut a julienne, again, that's a stick. And then from there we go to a mince. Okay, so that's for spring rolls. Now, typical flavor of a spring roll. Oh, not my class. No, probably next door. Packing? Sorry. Okay, so in a spring roll, typical flavorings that you'll see would be oyster sauce, soy sauce, a chicken powder, so this is a chicken bouillon powder, And if you're like, oh, oyster sauce does not taste oystery, but if you do have a seafood allergy, make sure that you avoid it. A nice substitute for an oyster sauce would be like a hoisin. You could use a teriyaki sauce instead if you want, but oyster sauce is a pretty traditional taste of, you know, Chinese food, spring rolls, etc. Right, Jens? You know what? My students are the most respectful. They never use phones while I'm teaching. They're fully engaged. Their eyes are looking into the whites of my eyes. Okay, so Miss Estrada, do you, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my students to start chopping and cooking their meat. So they're gonna be cooking up ground beef until it's completely cooked with their sauteed vegetables. We're gonna cool the meat, we're gonna come back to you, and we're gonna video Miss Estrada teaching these little learners how to fold and wrap a spring roll and fry. Okay, so we'll splice the videos together. We'll come back soon. Thanks, Hello. Ed. We are back. Mrs. Estrada is here to demonstrate for us the wrapping of the spring roll.
Okay.
Here's Miss Estrada. I can do the talking if you want. Do you want me to?
You can do the talking.
I'll do the talking. Miss Estrada's a bit shy, but don't worry. By the end of 4 quarters of Miss K, she'll be less shy because I'm so loud. I talk for everyone.
So you separate first your wrappers?
So you have to separate your wrappers first. Sometimes they like to stick together, so you just have to be really careful. Okay, so one wrapper is pretty thin, so it's like a thin pasta. So Miss Estrada's got her 4 wrappers here.
So 4 wrappers, then you start.
So she has her cooled meat mixture. Her meat mixture contains celery, carrots.
It's cooled down already, the mixture. We put in the ice.
We put the meat over ice so that it would rapidly cool so that we could fold. Because it's not really good to fold a spring roll while the inside is hot. Otherwise the spring roll wrapper will actually break open.
So we fold the end.
So Mrs. Estrada folds in the end. Folds in the end.
Then roll. Put your finger.
You hold the ends. You
put your finger like this. So hold the meat. And then roll it.
You hold the meat and then you roll it up nice and tight. You use your finger, you dip your finger in water, and you just gently seal the edge, kind of like licking an envelope. Please do not lick your edge of your spring roll wrappers during COVID. It could be bad.
Like that. And then for frying, not too high because like your meat already cooked. Just like need to make a golden brown only the wrapper, right? So it's slowly like medium.
So we're going to be slowly heating our oil on medium heat. Use a little tester piece of food to make sure it's hot enough. And we're going for Mrs. K's GBD, golden brown and delicious on the outside.
When you fry them, you know the edge like this, that's the one you lay down in your frying pan. So it will stick together, it doesn't explode. And then you turn one more time, use your tongs. Use the tongs.
Use metal tongs to turn your wrapper, and then make sure that when you're frying, the first part that you fry is the edge down, the part that keeps it close.
Yeah.
Okay guys, can't wait to see golden brown and delicious.
Yeah, that's it.
Here's the end of our spring roll, and Jada, I won't video her because she doesn't want me to. She fried them. That's what they should look like, golden brown and delicious spring roll sauce. The end.